Good morning, Betsy. Thank you so much for joining us from the Experts Santef special blog where I interview leaders of this industry. First of all, I want to say thank you so much for creating now rebranded because you have exceeded your goals,
Yes.
50-50 women on board, and being a champion for all women and all the companies that want to be profitable or more profitable because they have a diverse board members. So I would like to start with a little bit about your background and what Women on Board is.
Well, Ben, I'm delighted to be here with all of your viewers, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. I'm kind of embarrassed to say very sunny California, where I reside in Los Angeles, downtown LA, and that's where 2020 Women on Boards, the name of our organization for the last 10 years, resides also in downtown LA, and our staff is mostly in California. And however, we delightfully changed our name January 1st this year because the year 2020 and our mission was concluded, as you mentioned. We did reach 20% of board seats in the Russell 3000 by the year 2020. In fact, a year early by the year 2019. So now we wanted to change our mission to achieve a far greater goal and take longer. We're not hanging our hat on a specific year. So we've changed that mission to 50-50 women on boards, which means that women will eventually hold, and we will help advocate for that, hold 50% of the public company board seats, and or one more or one less if there's an odd number of seats on that board. So we call this gender balance, and that's what companies work best with half men, half women, and the input and perspective of men and women of all racial backgrounds and other underrepresented minority communities who have business experience and can help companies grow. And indeed, Credit Suisse research, McKinsey research, KPMG research, all supports the fact that companies are indeed more profitable, more productive, and the workforce is better engaged when women are on the board, at least 3 women on the board. And that relates to the California law that I'll tell you about shortly. But that's where we are at 50-50 women on boards.
Fantastic. Tell us how it got started.
Our co-founders, Stephanie Sonnabend and Mally Giro in Boston, started this as an idea whose time had come in the year 2010. And they realized, they're both in business, they realized that the numbers of women on boards, corporate boards at the time was terribly low. It was only 10% at that time. That means women held only 10% of the board seats of the Russell 3000, and even fewer because they were only counting the Fortune 1000 at that time. So they realized that somebody needed to do the research to publicize the numbers of women on corporate boards and on specific boards. So they developed the research where the public could see how many women were on the public company boards in the US, and that they ranked companies based on their numbers, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 or better. Very few at that time were gender balanced, believe me. So with only 10% of women, 10% board seats held by women. So things have improved a lot. We made it to 20%. Yes. They forecast that it would take 10 years. They were right. Even when they got started, some people criticized them to say, well, listen, why don't you shoot for 30% in 10 years? Because they're in business, Mally and Stephanie knew that it probably would take 10 years. And it certainly did to achieve just 20%. So we haven't tied our new mission, 50-50 women on boards, to any year, so that whenever it's accomplished by any company, that's great. The sooner the better. But seriously, it's an effort that is really working, and is working for many reasons, the most important of which now is that shareholders, activist investors, and proxy advisors like ISS and Glass Lewis, if some of your members have heard of those services for boards. They all, and institutional investors, Goldman Sachs, State Street Global Advisors, the pension funds, CalPERS, CalSTRS, New York State Pension Fund, and New York City pension funds.
Yes.
All of them are saying, we're not going to vote for your current directors unless you add women and people of color to your boards. And it's just the smart business thing to do. It's not representation. It's the smart business thing to do. And it's the only fair thing to do to have an advantage for the shareholders. So that's
one of the things I really liked about Women on Boards is that you are very fact-driven statistics that prove that having a woman on board is a lot more profitable for the company. So it is actually economical, overall better for the company, profitability-wise, better for the company to do this. Now, how did you get involved with Women on Board? I mean, you're the CEO.
I am now.
But you had a very successful career before this, had your own business, you're a female entrepreneur. So how did you decide to come on board as a CEO?
Well, I'm still a woman entrepreneur all these years. I started out in the journalism and public relations, and then I launched a public relations agency years and years ago. And then 27 years ago, I launched an executive search firm with an emphasis in diversity 27 years ago, even before it was part of the understanding that this is good for business. And 10 years ago, when Mally and Stephanie had started 2020 Women on Boards, I heard about it. And of course, I'm in Los Angeles. They were in Boston. And I reached out to say we and my friends here, women business owners, would like to be part of the effort as volunteers. So they started doing events in key cities, and that, with my being a volunteer and my good friend Renee Frazier, we said we will lead the event here in Los Angeles. And we did, and we grew it very quickly to an annual event that is held in many cities to raise funds to support the research and the educational programs of what was then 2020 Women on Board. So I started as a volunteer, and you know how that goes, right? Yeah. You work really hard as a volunteer, and then you get more work. In fact, they decided to make a job for me just 3 years ago, even though I still own and manage my executive search firm as well. Very complementary, and that search firm really runs very well on its own, so that I can spend time on this important mission of advancing more women, educating more women how to get themselves on corporate boards. So they asked me to be the CEO, and I said, I couldn't say no. Besides, I also wrote the Bible about how to get on corporate boards.
Yes.
It's called Winning the Board Game, available on Amazon. But it also is such credibility for us. And 2 books, actually, where I interviewed more than 103 women who serve on corporate boards, talking about how they got there and what impact they have had over the years, why it's important for women to be on corporate boards, for the women themselves as well as for those companies. So all those reasons, I guess that's why they asked me, and I believe that this is the mission of my life. And I'm very proud of how we've been able to grow. We were in 27 cities with our big event called the Global Conversation on Board Diversity just last November. And you attended in New York a couple.
Yes, I did.
That was the last time we had live in-person events.
Yes.
All of our events are now virtual, which gives great freedom for people all over the country to be able to attend events in different cities and network with directors and leading women in business in those various cities. It was very successful last year. And this year, 2021, we will continue to be virtual, in more than 30 cities around this country and the UK, Zurich, Mexico City, and several other countries. So we're expanding, not for the purpose of expanding members, because we're not a membership organization. We are
Correct.
a campaign. We are an educational and public awareness campaign. That makes us very different. We're really focused on educating women, as I mentioned, and on spreading the word about the business benefits of having women on boards, no matter where that company might be based. So it's very exciting.
Love to know a little bit about your childhood or how you got here. I know how you started your own PR firm. So can you tell us a little bit about your
I
childhood?
couldn't find a job. I'd been in journalism, newspaper, TV reporter early in my career, and in public relations for Disney, traveling around the country for Disney. And so
Oh,
I really made a lot of news media contacts. And therefore, I came back here to Los Angeles, which was home. And so seriously, couldn't find a PR job. So some mentors recommended I just start my own firm. Scared to death, I did. I didn't know what I was getting into, but I started doing public relations efforts for companies, small companies. And then pretty soon I had to hire freelancers and they became employees. And then I brought on a partner 5 years later. And that's how you get started in a business. Women tend to, as I know from my National Association of Women Business Owners, women tend to start businesses to create a job for themselves that they love and to be working with people they enjoy working with and to have less stress than they might have in the corporate realm, even though we need the corporate realm.
we
We need
do.
corporations to be clients, of course, and it's like a marriage of the two. But I've seen that when men start businesses, it's much more a money-driven thing. They want to grow a business fast, sell it fast. Women aren't like that. We create an environment for us to have a great job ourselves, and not even thinking about that. But that's what is over years and years now. Women have owned businesses for 40 years, and
Yep.
and you do too. You own your own
Yes,
business, and isn't it it's a great pleasure to get
it
up
is.
to work every day. Yeah.
I mean, I actually say when people ask me, the analogy I give is like it's owning your own business or starting your own business is like having your first child. You could read about it all you want, but you don't realize how hard it is, how wonderful it is until you have it. And you need a village to raise a child, and you really need a village to start a company. And your child changes. I mean, especially an infant, a week is a long time. They change, and you just have to adjust.
Mm.
And that's what you have to do with your business. You have to adjust and pivot constantly. So that's how I sort of compare it.
Well, it's a perfect comparison. You are absolutely right. That's how it is. But I also say that to women who think that they want to start their own businesses, go ahead and try. Because if it doesn't matter if you fail, because you can always get a job. But if you don't try and you look back on your life 20, 30 years later and say, gee, why didn't I try? And
Yeah.
so I say, go for it. And sure you need a village, but you really only need 2 or 3. You need an accountant and you need somebody who's going to help you with some admin support, and you can get virtual assistants now. Anyway, then your business becomes a teenager, and it does have growing pains, and that's where we are with 2020. I'm sorry, see, I do that. I'm tripping over myself to now say 50 women on boards. And maybe we're more a young adult. We're a young
Yeah.
adult now because we certainly have 20 years left to go and,
Yeah.
until we meet our final objective. But the growing pains are only enjoyable because what the growing pains are adding staff who can help the team build more presence in more cities. So, and we're doing that 27 cities last year, more than 30 this year. And with the changing to virtual because of COVID, there were many challenges that we had never lived through before. But we
Exactly.
learned a lot last year, and now we're really getting started early. I mean, it's only the early days of March, and we have a long way until November. All of our events for the global conversation are held in November, from the 1st to
Got it.
before the Thanksgiving break. And we kick the whole series off with a global broadcast, including speakers from all over the world, and talking about the status of women on boards in corporations around the world. Last year we had speakers from India, from Nigeria, from
Oh,
Japan,
wow.
as well as Mexico City, Spain, and the UK. And of course, speakers from the US. We had Melinda Gates, who's truly a global citizen. She was our key
Oh,
speaker, and Melody Hobson, Valerie Jarrett, wonderful, wonderful women leaders who are leading, they themselves serve on corporate boards and are leading examples of
yeah.
our effort.
But what I also love about your events is that you also have other sex, men, executives who want to empower women, who want to be the advocates, who want to be the supporters, which I find it really, really welcoming, because you know what? We all have to coexist. And the fact you put those men on the stage now in front of all these women, and now they have to live up to their words, which is fantastic. I really thought it was a great dynamic and great way to say, listen, we need you guys because you are there.
You are
um,
you make such an important point, because we, in every city, we have men as well as women, generally four panelists, keynote panelists on a panel, talking about the advantages and benefits of having women on corporate boards. And all of those speakers are themselves corporate directors or CEOs, and they talk about the experience they've had in their own companies. It's very beneficial for the audience to hear the importance and how to get on corporate boards. And that's the big mystery, of course, that
yeah.
we educate women how to get on corporate boards. And a great part of the solution is men. And for all of your women in your audience,
Yep.
talking to men in your career about your intention to serve on corporate boards, not your hope, but your intention, and ask their input along the way, along the way of your career, and just thinking always about the fact that someday you're going to serve on a corporate board. It doesn't have to be a Fortune 500 corporate board and a big brand name, but there are smaller companies, there are pre-IPO companies all throughout the U.S. where women can bring, and your audience members can bring more wisdom, their business wisdom, not just being a woman, but business wisdom that they've learned from their careers, bring that experience to corporate boards. It's very important that men they still hold 80% of the board
Yes, they
positions.
do.
We are
They
not
do.
anywhere near gender balance in most
Yeah.
companies. There are only 167 companies out of 3,000 in the Russell 3000. Only that many that are gender balanced right now. But gradually, year by year, it's going to get better and better. But the men are the key. So
Yes,
yeah,
they
we
are.
definitely want them to be champions for us. Not necessarily
Exactly.
mentors, not necessarily sponsors, but champions, and that works.
Why do you see champions? That's a really interesting, say, not mentors, but champions.
Well, if they are mentors and sponsors for women in your audience, great. But we really encourage men that they don't have to go that far. They don't have to say, I'm supporting this one woman to get her on a board. Lovely if they do, but to be champions of the whole effort, because they can talk about the importance of women business owner. I'm sorry, of women serving on corporate boards and women business owners in their speaking engagements, etc. They champion the issue, and that's really important for us, because you can't always expect every man to be a mentor or sponsor who serves on a board. If they do, great, but you can ask them to champion the issue, and that's a very easy yes for them to say, and then keep the effort rolling. And that's also what happened with our law in California. I'll tell you about if you'd like to
Oh
hear.
yes, please. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. I can't believe.
What
Tell us
happened.
all about.
I
Yes.
can't believe it either. But I'm the originator. I'm proud to say the originator with the national, with women business owner friends of mine. We took the idea to Sacramento, and because we're just thinking, why can't we here in California, which is the seventh largest economy in the world, might even be higher than that at the moment, why can't we in California do what Norway did, Sweden did back in 2006 and 5? And then and this was in 2012 when we took this idea to Sacramento and met with the Women's Caucus and other male legislators to start to develop champions, start to develop supporters who were serving the legislature. Well, we found out that first we had to have a resolution. A resolution lasts 3 years and talked about the same condition or the same requirements as our law requires. The first year, one woman on every public company board in California, and then by the end of the third year, a minimum of 3 women on every public company board. The resolution, however, did not have any penalties, so there was no real push, there was no real incentive for companies to. It just was saying the government encourages companies. Well,
Yeah.
nothing happened. The needle did not move at all. So that was our proof that we had to have in order to move into proposing a law that would have penalties. So the law, after the deadline passed on the resolution, sorry, this is a long story, I'll cut it short.
No problem.
After the deadline passed on the resolution, it gave us time to develop champions and supporters, but then we started to work on development of the law itself, which is made history. It's called SB, standing for Senate Bill 826. 826 is easy to remember because we named it for International Women's Day, the day that women got their vote in the U.S. That's August the 26th. So 826 is the name of the bill, and we.
Oh, I didn't realize that. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, August 26th, and that was just about the time that it also got passed. We had to go through 3 committee meetings in the Senate, 3 committee hearings in the Assembly as well, and it faced a ton of opposition, just an incredible amount of opposition. You women will never get away with this. It's what some of the very dyed-in-the-wool, die-hard conservatives said.
Oh, wow.
You can't force our companies to do this. Well, then why don't the companies do it on their own to the benefit of the shareholders? So we did get it passed in August of 2018. So the first year required at least 1 woman in 2019 on every public company board in California. And then this year, 2021, is the big year because this is the year that all companies publicly held are required to have a minimum of 3 women on their boards. So companies are looking for women in order to meet these requirements. The penalty is $100,000 per woman per year that they don't have a woman on the board. So the first year, 200 companies that didn't have any women suddenly shrunk to only 10 companies. And those are just inconsequential companies you'll never heard of, small ones. And the rest put a woman on their board. And this year we'll see and that was 200 women, by the way, seats added for
just in California.
Just in California, but women came from all over the country. It wasn't just California women. And this year it will mean 600 more seats in 2020.
Oh my God.
It's really powerful. And the ripple effect across the country has been very positive because women have started to learn. They've come to 2020 to 50-50 women on boards to learn how to get themselves on corporate boards, which is the key that I'll give you, of course. And the ripple effect has been phenomenal. And you've seen the institutional investors get on board with this issue. I think they were doing it anyway, but maybe not. Maybe we helped to cause this, and 50-50 women on boards with the campaign ever since 2010 definitely helped the powers that be change their minds, and more champions for us. So we expect a lot of change over the next several years, which is why we named the organization 50.
50-50.
Yeah.
Woo! Love it. Well, we're coming to an end, but I wanted to say, obviously, I'm going to share your website and everything with our audience. The female professional woman came up to you. She is a mid-level. What are some of the, and I know this is part of it, 50 Women on Board's mission also, that not only you spread the statistics and research and encourage all corporations to do this, but from bottom up, you also train women. You have sort of tactical action plan. This is what you need to do. You have training programs as well. So,
Yes.
and I'll share all that information with our audience. But like, what are some of the things that women can do to
I'll give you
help?
the 3 keys. There are 3 keys.
Yeah.
And we talk about this in our workshops, our Get On Board workshops, which you can find on our website, which, as you know, is now 5050wob.com. And the Get On Board workshops are held every other week, and it's only 6 hours, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, for 2-hour sessions. And that's the complete workshop in 1 week. And that helps women understand the 3 keys. The 3 keys are strategic networking, deciding who among your networks, your banker, your attorney, your CPA, who among your networks knows people who serve on corporate boards, and you can call your contacts up, even people you haven't seen in a long time, and explain your intention to serve on corporate boards. The second is getting prior board experience throughout your career. Well, how can you get prior board experience if women can't get on corporate boards? You get the prior board experience from serving on nonprofit boards, not just being a member, but being on a board. And the nonprofit has other people who serve on corporate boards, and they get to know you, they recommend you because they see you in action. So getting prior board experience develops those contacts, as well as builds your understanding of board dynamics and how to get things done. And then visibility for yourself, but really the key is, and which is what we train in our Get On Board workshops, how to talk about your value added experience. Lots of times when women are at a cocktail party or a business meeting, somebody asks you, well, what's your background? And then you give the whole resume, kind of like I did at the beginning, too long in just general conversation. So we train women how to specifically say what their experience is that is meaningful to a board, and what committee they could serve on the board, how large their experience has been in the companies where they've worked in terms of numbers and P&L experience. And if you don't have, if you're an attorney or a CPA and you don't have P&L experience from working inside a company, then you need to get on a commission of city, state, or county commissions so that you can be responsible for a huge budget, a public budget, and that also counts. So strategic contacts, prior board experience, even if it's nonprofit, and certainly your industry trade association. That's a key. Get on your board of your industry trade association so people in your industry get to know you and see you in action. And then lastly, learn how to specifically talk in 3 bullets about your experience. So those are the keys that we teach in our Get On Board workshop. And we're starting a new program this year for women who are earlier in their career and might be 10, 15 years away from a board seat, how to generate visibility for themselves and serve on nonprofit boards, get on nonprofit boards early in their career. So they start to build a landscape of contacts and visibility for themselves. Even introverts do this. And
oh my God,
it's not difficult. It's good training. And that workshop is called Path to the Boardroom, and it is on the first Tuesday of every month. So delighted, and that's only 2.5 hours. Delighted to have more of your members listen in. And then, of course, come to our big events, our virtual big events in November. And once you become part of the campaign, it doesn't cost you anything other than a ticket to the event. It doesn't cost you anything to be on our database. come to our website, sign up your email address on the database, and you're in.
Fantastic. Well, Betsy, thank you so much for
Thank you, Hannah.
spending this morning in the afternoon for me. Thank you for your encouraging words and your mission, your passion for women on board and moving women forward.
Great talking to you too, and good luck to all of those in the audience. And even if you never thought about serving on a corporate board, that's okay. Now's the time to start thinking about it, because
Oh, yeah.
this is our time for the next 10 years. I would predict that certainly by the end of 10 years, we will achieve gender balance on all public company boards if they want to stay in business.
Exactly.
Thank you, Min. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Betsy. Bye.
Bye-bye.